Welcome to Wealth Hustle 247 podcast, your trusted guide to financial literacy, business innovation, and entrepreneurial success. Learn how to grow your wealth, make informed decisions, and turn your ideas into profitable ventures.
Ever wonder how the rich keep their wealth under wraps? In this episode, we reveal how the rich hide their wealth, uncovering the strategies they use to protect and grow their fortune. Stick around as we uncover the secrets.
Okay, so have you ever wondered how the super rich, how they keep their fortunes a secret?
It's really interesting, actually,
Yeah.
how they manage to do it right out in the open, and it's totally legal.
Right.
We're going to be looking at all the tricks and techniques they use. Some of them are pretty simple,
Yeah.
and some of them are, well, kind of genius.
All right, let's start with something that I think a lot of people have heard of but don't really understand, trusts. Like when we talk about big money, family money passed down, sometimes to avoid things like estate taxes or creditors, things like that.
It's like basically creating a whole separate entity to hold on to those assets. So
Yeah.
kind of like a vault.
Okay.
But instead of gold bars or whatever, it's holding stocks and real estate, maybe even a yacht.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you have a trustee who manages all that
Mm-hmm.
according to the rules of the trust.
Yeah.
Keeps everything nice and discreet and legally protected.
And then there's this whole other side of trusts,
Yeah.
offshore trusts,
Yeah.
places like the Cayman Islands,
Yes.
Cook Islands, that have very specific laws that are very attractive to people who want to protect their assets.
What makes them so attractive, they've got these super strong privacy laws
Right.
and much lower tax rates.
Right.
So that makes it really difficult for anyone outside the trust to even figure out who owns what or how much it's all worth.
So it's just like a black box.
The black box, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hypothetically, somebody could set up a trust in one of these places,
Yep.
put all their money in it,
Right.
and nobody would be able to find it.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
like tax authorities.
Really?
Yeah. It can be that difficult.
So, I mean, this is obviously why they're so attractive to people who are, wanting to
Keep things private.
keep things private,
Yeah.
potentially avoid some taxes.
Minimize their tax liability, sure.
Yeah.
Of course, this raises questions about,
Yeah.
transparency and
Yeah.
whether it's all on the up and up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move away from trusts for a second. Talk about something that I think always sounds a little bit shady.
Yeah.
Shell companies.
Shell companies, everybody thinks they're automatically dodgy.
Yeah.
They are legal, though
Yeah.
they are legal, but it's definitely a gray area.
Yeah.
So basically what we're talking about is a company that exists, but only on paper.
Mhm.
Might have a name, a registered address, maybe a bank account,
Right.
but it doesn't actually do anything.
What's the point of that?
Right. That's where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
So wealthy individuals use these shell companies to hold their assets.
Okay.
So things like real estate, art, investments,
Mm-hmm.
and because, legally, the company owns it.
Right.
Their name's not on the records.
It's like a mask for their money.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can, I assume, set these up.
You can have multiple in different places.
Yeah.
To make it extra hard to figure out who really owns what.
So it's like layers of an onion.
It's like layers of an onion.
This
Yeah.
could get
You got to peel back all those layers.
to find out who's really pulling the strings.
Exactly.
Are there, are there certain places where these shell companies tend to pop up?
You've got jurisdictions known for having really relaxed rules about corporate transparency.
Okay.
They might not even make you say who the real owner is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes it really easy to hide
Yeah.
who's really behind it all.
This is starting to sound like a spy movie.
It is. It's a bit cloak and dagger, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're trying to keep your wealth under wraps, you want to make it really hard to follow the money.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got shell companies.
Mm-hmm.
We've got all these layers, but they also use holding companies, right?
But holding companies are another good one.
Yeah.
So these are companies that are set up just to own shares in other companies.
So it's like a company
Well,
that
yeah.
owns the company.
Yes.
That owns the asset.
Exactly. So you create this chain
Mm-hmm.
leading away from the real owner.
Wow.
Another layer of complexity makes it even harder to untangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how all this fits together.
All interconnected, yeah.
Yeah. So you have a trust.
Right.
You've got shell companies, holding companies, all these different things
Working together.
to make it very, very hard to figure out who the person is.
It's a system. Yeah.
Behind all this.
And you can use this with other tactics, too.
Okay.
Like, think about real estate, right?
Okay.
Who owns that, penthouse in New York City?
Right.
Or that private island?
Yeah.
You never really know.
And that's where LLCs come in, right?
LLCs are popular, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for real estate. Because not only do they protect you from liability, but they offer a lot of anonymity.
Okay.
So instead of buying a property in their own name, they create an LLC, maybe in a state with really tight privacy laws, like Delaware or Wyoming.
Okay.
That LLC then becomes the owner.
Yeah.
So on paper, you can't see the individual.
So you could have a mansion and your name's not even on the deed.
That's right. And to make things even more complicated, you can combine LLCs with offshore structures.
Okay, so how does that work?
Let's say you've got an LLC in Delaware. You set up another one, maybe in the British Virgin Islands, with their super strong privacy laws.
Right.
And that second LLC owns the first one.
Wow.
So now you've got this structure that goes across borders.
Right.
Super hard to untangle.
It's like a financial fortress.
It is. Walls within walls.
You need a whole army of accountants.
Exactly.
To figure out who actually owns what.
And that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
The more complex, the harder it is to crack.
Makes sense.
This is really common with real estate because the values are so high.
Yeah.
And you want that privacy.
Right.
But of course, it does raise questions about transparency.
It does.
Especially in the real estate market.
Yeah, for sure. And this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah. We're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about private banking, offshore accounts, numbered accounts.
Okay, let's get into that because I'm dying to know how they manage their actual cash flow.
All right, we're diving into high finance.
Yeah.
Where discretion is everything and the stakes are high.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, so we talked about the more I guess structural ways the wealthy kind of protect their assets using trusts and shell companies and real estate.
Yeah.
But how do they actually manage the money itself?
So this is where we get into the world of private banking, which is like a whole other level of financial services.
So we're not talking about my local
No, not your average bank, no. Okay. These are institutions that are specifically designed for people with serious wealth.
Got it.
They offer, very personalized services, special investment opportunities, and a level of privacy that you just won't find at your regular bank.
So it sounds very exclusive.
It is. It's very exclusive.
What are some of the key differences between...
Well, for one, the amount of money you need to even open an account can be in the millions.
Wow.
And it's not just about, holding your money.
Right.
It's about actively managing it, growing your wealth.
Okay.
They have these dedicated advisors who, help you figure out these really complex investments.
So it's like having a financial advisor on call at all times?
Yeah, like a personal concierge just for your money.
Wow. And I guess discretion is a big part of that.
Huge. Yeah, private banks are known for their confidentiality.
Makes sense.
They understand that their clients, they value their privacy, and they're going to do everything they can to protect that information.
You're dealing with that much money. You don't want people knowing what you're up to.
Nobody needs to know your business.
Yeah, exactly. And this kind of ties into offshore banking.
Yeah, we touched on this a bit with trusts.
Right.
But let's dig a little deeper into how offshore accounts actually work.
Okay, so remind me, what exactly is an offshore account?
Basically, it's just a bank account.
Okay.
But it's held in a different country than where you live. Now, there are legitimate reasons to have one.
Right.
Like if you do business internationally.
Yeah.
But they can also be used to, hide assets from tax authorities, creditors, things like that.
So I've heard of places like Switzerland, Cayman Islands.
Yeah, like classic tax havens.
What makes them so attractive for this?
It's a few things, really. You've got strict bank secrecy laws, very low, sometimes no taxes on foreign income.
Okay.
And usually a pretty stable political environment.
Yeah.
All of this makes it really hard for anyone to get information about the account holder.
So if you really want to keep your wealth a secret, an offshore account seems like a pretty good option.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, this whole thing has become kind of controversial.
Right.
There's this big global push for transparency now.
Yeah.
A lot of countries are cracking down on tax evasion, money laundering.
So it might be legal, but maybe not the best idea.
It's a gray area, for sure.
Yeah.
It really depends on your situation, your intentions.
Right.
But it's something to think about carefully.
Definitely. Okay, so that's offshore accounts. But there are other ways.
Oh, yeah. There are other ways to protect your assets
Okay.
and keep things private.
Like what?
Well, there's a whole world of alternative investments that can offer anonymity and potential for growth.
So what are we talking about here?
We're talking about things like luxury goods, art, rare cars, diamonds, even fine wine. These are all things that can go up in value.
Right.
And they're a way to store wealth discreetly.
So instead of putting your money in a bank, you buy a Picasso.
Exactly. Or a vintage Ferrari.
Wow.
And the thing is, the value of these things, it's subjective.
Right.
It can change a lot.
Yeah.
Which makes them hard to track.
Oh, okay.
For tax purposes.
So that adds another layer of privacy.
It does, yeah.
But how do you, manage all this?
Oh, there are services for that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You've got art storage facilities.
Right.
Wealth management firms that deal specifically with these high-end collectibles.
Wow.
You got advisors who can tell you what something's worth.
Yeah.
Whether it's real or not.
So there's a whole industry.
There's a whole industry
built around this.
Around managing these luxury assets.
That's amazing.
It's a different world.
It really is. It's a whole different level.
Yeah. And speaking of different levels, we can't forget about the whole digital revolution.
Right. Cryptocurrencies.
Crypto, NFTs.
Yeah.
This is the new frontier, especially for anonymity and decentralization.
So cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Yeah, they operate on this decentralized blockchain, which means all the transactions are recorded, but it's spread out across a network of computers.
So there's no one in charge, like a bank or a government.
No central authority, that's right.
And that makes it hard to track, right?
Really hard to track, yeah.
So you could have millions in Bitcoin.
Potentially. Yeah.
And nobody would know who you are.
It's not completely anonymous,
right?
But it's a lot more private than traditional finance.
I see. And this is obviously appealing to people who want to, keep things under wraps.
Keep things private, move money around without being noticed.
But it's not just about hiding wealth, right?
No, crypto is also an investment.
Yeah.
With a lot of potential.
Okay.
It's been up and down, but it's attracted a lot of investors.
And what about NFTs?
All right, NFTs, or non-fungible tokens.
Yeah.
Basically, they're like digital certificates of ownership for something unique, like a piece of digital art.
So like a digital deed.
Yeah, like a digital deed.
Piece of art.
And this is all recorded on the blockchain.
Right.
Which is public, but transactions can be pseudonymous. So
you get transparency and anonymity at the same time.
Exactly.
It's like a whole new world.
It is. It's really interesting.
Of wealth management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's changing all the time.
I mean, regulators are probably.
Oh, yeah, they're scrambling to keep up.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to change how we think about managing and protecting wealth in the future.
It's just like layer upon layer.
It's very complex.
Of strategies.
And it's constantly evolving, yeah.
It's almost overwhelming.
It can be.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the technical stuff.
Okay.
It's also about the mindset.
What do you mean?
It's a way of thinking about wealth that puts privacy and control front and center.
So it's not just about the tools, it's about the philosophy.
Exactly. And that's what we'll look at next.
Okay.
We'll dive into the motivations, the values, the lifestyle choices that shape how the ultra-wealthy manage their money.
We've talked about a lot. Trusts, shell companies, private banking.
Offshore accounts.
Crypto. It seems like there's like a whole world dedicated to protecting wealth.
It's a whole ecosystem.
And it's changing all the time.
It's constantly evolving, yeah.
But what I think is really fascinating is that it's not just about the the technical stuff.
It's not just about the tools.
Yeah.
It's about a way of thinking.
Right, like a philosophy almost.
A philosophy, a mindset, yeah.
Of wealth.
And it's all about discretion, control, thinking about the long term.
Yeah, like legacy.
Legacy, exactly.
Like building something that lasts.
Yeah, for a lot of these people, wealth isn't just about money.
Right.
It's about building a dynasty, preserving their family's name.
It makes me think of those like old money families.
Exactly.
You know, the ones that have like been wealthy for generations.
Yeah, and they're very careful about how they manage their money.
Yeah.
It's not just about keeping it.
Right.
It's about controlling it.
Okay.
Making sure it's used the way they want it to be used.
So, like, their philanthropy.
Their philanthropy, their investments, their family's future.
They want it all to reflect their values.
They want to be in control.
It's interesting because it's kind of the opposite of what we think of.
Right.
When we think of, like...
The stereotypical rich person.
Right. Like flashy cars, big houses.
Yeah, but there's a whole group that values discretion.
Okay.
They operate under the radar.
So it's like quiet power.
Quiet power, exactly.
They're not, like, in the tabloids?
They're not on social media.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of influence.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, yeah.
So it's not that they're trying to hide. They just want to do things.
They want to do things their way, on their own terms.
I guess the question is, what can we learn from this?
That's a good question.
I mean, most of us are never going to have to worry about setting up an offshore trust.
Most of us aren't buying private islands.
Yes, exactly.
But there are some takeaways that apply to everyone.
Like what?
Well, think about long-term planning, thinking about your legacy. Even if you're not dealing with millions, it's important to think about how you want your assets to be managed down the line.
And this whole idea of control.
Control, yeah.
Discretion.
It's about being financially literate, understanding your options, making informed decisions.
So it's like knowledge is power.
Exactly. The more you know, the better choices you can make about your money.
So this deep dive, it hasn't just been about, like, the secrets of the wealthy.
It's about gaining insights
that
can help everyone.
Right. No matter how much money you have.
Exactly.
It's about understanding the system.
Understanding the system.
Yeah.
And how it works.
And how you can use it to your advantage.
And it all starts with being curious.
Curiosity, asking questions.
Right. Like we've done today.
Like we've done today, yeah.
I think our listeners have learned a lot. I hope so.
And maybe, you know, they'll do their own deep dives in the world of finance.
Yeah, the more informed we all are, the better off we'll be.
To everyone listening.
Yes.
Keep learning.
Keep exploring.
Keep asking questions.
And keep diving deep.
Thanks for joining us.
That's it for today's episode of Wealth Hustle 247. Be sure to follow, like, comment, and share with others. Keep pushing toward your goals, and we'll see you in the next episode.